Hmm. Interesting. Very peculiar. We have some kind of a metallic, kind of box-shaped thing. Let's just probe this one right away without looking for other elements. This metallic box has papers inside. People cannot go here. No life forms here. No one can go inside the box. And this box has some blue stuff on top of it, like so. Not water, some kind of blue object. And on the outside of the box there are many inscriptions, some kind of writing of some kind, lots of texts of some kind. There is a road which leads to here, and many people take this road and no one quarrels here. It is a peaceful place. This box does not emanate heat. There is no door to get inside it, and there is something important on the top. This time again blue, but more like this shape. RV emphasizes that there are no life forms here, and that we cannot go inside it, and there are no life forms inside it. This box is nothing festive, nothing is celebrated here, but this box has some kind of a purpose. We cannot lift this box, and there are some orange items nearby. And just a reminder, orange is the color I always have initially for small objects, so they are most likely not going to be actually orange once we see what they are. It just means small items. Harvey says there is no anger here. And an interesting thing happens when I push this box downward. I have a very unusual reaction to that. I get nauseous. There's something sickening and made me feel ill and unwell when I pushed this box downward. It was a very strange feeling. Now, obviously it comes from the target, so it doesn't really have to do with me or who I am or how I react. It really is a data about this box, even though perhaps with interaction with me, but it felt really unwell. I also felt unwell in the same way, nauseous, sickly, when I lifted the box upward. And it's a highly unusual reaction for push probes. It's very unusual. It's maybe even never happened before. The box cannot hurt me, and it is in a wide landscape, so the area is very large and seemed empty and much bigger than this, but we get the idea. Some kind of a large expanse. Kind of like that. So these important blue things on top of the box is something solid, severe, serious, angry, stressed, hectic, about to fall. Chaos, torturous, impeding anger. A hectic chaos about it. Many have seen it fall and nobody takes it out. Somebody placed it there, arranged it to be there, the way it is placed. It has a bad, putrid smell, kind of like old electronics in a warehouse kind of smell. People quarrel here about this blue thing. They fight and it gets hectic, and the blue thing falls over. People quarrel here until they die. And there's indication people have been here before but are no longer, and that women never came here. It looks silvery and metallic and shines like silver, but RV says it is not metallic. And then I feel what I would describe as a radiation pain in my legs from this blue object, and then I feel nauseous. It felt like these waves emanating from the blue thing getting into my legs, and it was a pain, and then I felt nauseous, which is interesting because the box gave me a nauseous feeling but no pain. So I probe this blue thing a bit more, and I feel anger there and just these emotions from people, and I see this structure which for some reason I want to say that it's disgusting. I was disgusted by it. It was this flat, actually I want to use brown. It was a horrible, hideous, ugly, disgusting thing. It's so ugly when you see it, you feel sick and nauseous. It's not evil or anything, but it's gross. It's this, oh God, I feel oh no, I'm getting sick here. This causes disease, and so it's this ring which is flat, and it has some, it's definitely a made structure, and it has some kind of, it's so disgusting when you see it. It feels like disease, and oh wow, this is bad. It's like it emanates illness. Oh gosh, this is disgusting. Some kind of like little, I forget, but some kind of like little, maybe like that, or like, oh no, it's horrible. It's so gross. Wow, no. As I'm looking at these blue things on top, there is some kind of large, like shape like that, which leans over, and for some reason it looks blue at this stage. It's not water, it's some kind of a structure. So all this stuff on top, no one is happy here. This is an angry place. Again, no doors to get inside. This is not vehicle or riding equipment. No one takes this apart. And again, I have this nauseating feeling and pain. The things on top are not made out of glass, is not a massive equipment, and it writes a ring tone. It's emanating some kind of a ring tone. I didn't hear it, but I saw and felt these waves with gaps. It's like one peak, intensity peak or tone, and then there's empty, and then it's another empty or quiet, and then it's another. So it's like a periodic. It didn't seem to have fluctuations across this signal emanation or sound emanation. It seems to be a uniform, that each of these peaks of sound intensity, or so these orange are either a louder sound intensity with quieter in between those, or that those are the only sound with quiet in between. But anyway, these are the main sound, and it is quieter or completely quiet in between. So it's like sound, 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 like that. And they are emanating outward from the blue. I do have to write here what they are, because some things when you draw things that you wouldn't normally be able to draw, like sound, it's better to just write. Let's write sound. I couldn't hear it. I didn't hear the sound. But I felt it and I saw these sound waves, just like this, what I drew. And also RV said that it was sound. Directly on top of the box there is a surface, which is kind of like no sharp edges, but it's like this extension, smooth, and it's just a bit, it looks like glass, it's reflective, it's smooth, it's shiny, and the blue equipment sits on top of it. Kind of like that. And it was very glossy and shiny and smooth. But no sharp edges, no corners on this surface here. If I try to lift the blue things that are on top, they would fall apart because they're not sturdy and they are fragile in a way. The blue things on top, it's emanating a sound. This time I heard it, felt it, and saw it, the sound itself. You can see sound because you can see the compression of air, or the compression. And it sounded kind of like if you have flat, thin metallic strips and you flick them and it lets out this metallic sound. So it's definitely emitting some kind of a signal or sound emission. On the top, as I'm looking, there is this it has a shape like stairs, like that. So we have to, I usually never allow myself to erase anything, but I'm not removing data from a drawing. I'm just getting finer details on the shape, which is fun. This is my initial stage and first, second stage drawing. And we're already. This drawing, as you can see, it's very detailed, so that's unusual that I get this much drawing detail at this stage. So yeah, kind of like this shape on the top, not smooth when you look closer. Once you start feeling it out and taking a look, yeah, that looks nice. Lots of detail here on this drawing. I'm very happy because this is my first drawing. And this blue thing extends to the sides, kind of flat like this. This is crazy amount of detail for the first drawing. Almost never happened before. So this one really speaks to me. This one really shows itself. I'm almost concerned why it is giving this much detail on the first pat down. At this stage, in the first hour, or half hour of session is not typical, but I'll take it. I'm happy. This road is a bit unusual. It's definitely not like asphalt road. It's crunchy and crispy, has stale matter on it. It's not solid or sturdy. It's almost like it's made out of like pine needles is what it feels and looks like at this stage. Doesn't mean it is pine needles, but it's like it's made out of fibers with empty gaps in between this material. Like it said, it's not solid, it's not a densely packed material of this road. And it's weak as well, and this equipment is nearby, and it feels very happy and peaceful and benign at this road. It's almost like you want to go to sleep. These objects that I drew with the initial color of orange, which really doesn't mean they are orange, it just means it's a small object. It doesn't break easily and feels like glass optics. There is no fiber cable connected to them. There's no cable or wire connected to these items. Now, totally interesting. They form a static electricity that goes upward. I'm just going to read. It was like if one of these items was vibrating and forming a friction to make a static electricity form. The static electricity then went upward into a steadily narrowing point the further up it rises. Let me draw what that looks like. And this was of a blue color. It looks like kind of like a flame. It becomes narrower to the top. And it was blue. Very interesting. Very interesting. I watched it happen. I've never seen anything. I've never in my entire life seen an object create an electrical emission. I mean, it wasn't a spark. It wasn't an electric spark. It was this more like what I don't know, plasma or I don't know. It was more like this electric mass. And another one, or the same, actually, or the same one, but I'm going to draw it from this one because of space. It also created one, but to the side. The first time I saw it, it shot it upward. And this second time I saw it, it shot it to the side. And this one that went to the side, I saw how it detached. Actually, let's draw it at the time when it detaches because it's an important data. It doesn't connect, it doesn't remain connected with an end of it to the original or to the origin, object of origin. It entirely detaches here and lets go and continues to travel in this direction. I've never seen anything like it. So it creates these emissions. It's an electric emission, but it's not a spark. It's this blue. I don't know what this is. I've never seen it. I think we need to draw arrows just to be clear here. Very interesting. these orange, initial color orange objects, they are placed on a rigid framework, which is like this. It's like they have these slots where they're sitting fixed. I can't believe the amount of detail I'm getting on the first, second stage. This signal is something else. It's actually a white thing, but since white doesn't show, or maybe it does. And RV says that these objects are elliptical. Now, I don't know what elliptical shape looks like, but that's what they are. These objects in the framework, they generate heat and a very strong pulse sound emission. They create heat radiation. The heat radiation works and acts as a repulsion repellent. It kind of had a feeling of weapon or defense system to keep things away, like don't come here, is the feeling I had, but that's not confirmed. Probing these objects, these things I drew orange, they act like lamps, lights. They pick up photons and later they emit those picked up photons. They create a sound emission too. Pathological design, pathological means disease, not silky or soft, not radiological equipment, doesn't dance around, is fixed on an equipment, doesn't have strobing lights on them, works optically, does not emit gases, does not create a sticky mess, sound signaling device, a sound emission tone. This time I heard a steady, continuous line beam of a tone sound, not made out of glass anywhere on them. The radiation makes people sick. It is designed to make illness. It has radiology equipment inside. It has glass fibers internally. It has equipment inside, is made out of cold glass. The glass keeps equipment cold and acts as an insulator for temperature or heat. A putrid signal that makes people sick and unwell. Glass materials inside. Solar wind equipment, specifically the concept of solar wind, which is a specific technological concept. So, looking closer, these objects are like glass reflective on the outside, so it's okay to update their outer appearance. So we can give them their actual appearance here. We don't know if they are spherical, it's just the initial approximated impression. Beautiful. It's beautiful to draw things closer to their true selves. Beautiful, beautiful. As you see, I take my time in drawing what I see. The elements deserve it, and RV deserves it as well. Look how pretty. Isn't that just beautiful? Like marbles of glass almost. These objects that I have drawn as the round reflective things, They were not made out of an intelligent design. Someone who made this is very dumb. It was made out of hatred. And these objects are puny, meaning not impressive, small, weak, insignificant, or insufficient, but they are radiologically active. This white landscape that the equipment is on is cold and is not hollow inside. And it is reflective, and we can use physics to show that. In physics we do this. Something coming in gets reflected out. I don't know at what angle, but this seems appropriate. Just like physics, optics problem. Reflective for some kind of a beam, maybe light, maybe sound. And we could draw the normal here, or the surface, and I guess some kind of an angle. Reflective, we should write it because people are going to think this is an actual cone shape. This here means reflective. You always have to worry about how are other people going to interpret your drawing. To me, that looks like reflective. I would see, okay, reflective, but some people think it's an actual triangle. So you have to draw reflective, or you have to write reflective to avoid misunderstanding. So looking at this wide landscape, which is reflective, it doesn't break like glass would. It is not bouncy or springy. Something feels miserable here, not happy. Sound emission box is being heavily guarded. Equipment that radiology uses. A heavy sound machine. This wide landscape that has the equipment on it, it is an optic lens like an eye. It's curved. Radiology makes people ill, a nauseating signal for making putrid mess of people. Heavily guarded, monstrous, is not a happy place, has a focal point above it, can create a mess and a confusion. Now, focal point, that makes me very happy because I used to study optics. I used to want to become an optical physicist and a medical physicist, so I am really excited about all this reflection and focal point. It was shown as a white, but we have to use a color. So above in the center, actually higher up than that, there is a white light, but I have to draw it blue so that we can see it. Or actually, let's be very no, we have to. I was going to give a background so that I can draw this focal point as white, but let's just do this. This is a focal point, and I'm going to tell you what that means. I have to give it, no? I'm just struggling with how to depict it because it's basically just a white region. This blue is just to illustrate it. A focal point is if you have, for instance, a concave reflective dish like that, then if you send, now this is what I know from physics, what a focal point is. If you have this kind of a dish, which is round in perimeter and is deeper down in the middle, drawn here from the side like a cup, if a ray of light or sound comes from here, like so, it will reflect, bounce off, and land on or go through the focal point in that direction, simply because of the shape of this reflective object surface, because of the actual specific curvature shape. The cool thing is, if you have a beam coming from here instead, maybe it bounces here, it will also go through the focal point. So no matter where a beam comes in, because of this curved bowl shape, all beams, regardless of their angle of entry, will all be reflected, bouncing off of the surface through the same focal point. So they all gather here and come together. They all pass through this one point, which is directly above the center of this parabolic reflective object, which means even though you have so many beams coming in, touching the object from all directions, they might not be so intense or bright because they're all over the place and spread out. What happens is, because they all get reflected to go through the same exit point, through the focal point, they're all connected here, collected. Since there's so many beams here, this becomes a very bright point. Now you can see the lines that are exiting here, they are again spread out. You see that the beams coming into our reflective concave parabolic structure, they're coming from all over the place, so they're not bright. Maybe you don't even see them because they're everywhere. They're coming in from all places, all angles, touching on different parts of the structure. But since they're all reflected through this one focal point, that's where they all meet and come together. That's where you get a collection, a bright intensity in this point. It's just a region in the air. It's not a physical structure, the focal point. It's just a place where all of them cross paths and meet. It will create a very strong point with all the beams are right there together. But you see where they exit the focal point, they are again spread out. So what happens is you might get a very strong light or sound, maybe. I don't know how sound behaves with parabolic reflection to a focal point, but you get a lot of intensity, strong, right there at the focal point, and then it scatters again outside. This is some really good stuff. I'm excited to get the word focal point. I know these things that I've just told you about focal point, what it is. I know that from physics. That's not RV. This is not RV data, but I'm going to leave it here. Because focal point is that. What I added must be correct and applicable, because RV said focal point. I can, in this case, add that in. Very exciting stuff. I'm looking closer at these blue emissions. It falls apart, breaks if I try to touch it. Is a signaling substance, emits a radiation of cool blue waves, cool indicating low temperature, is a bad burning eminence, burning but cold, is a sound emission too, is cold and blue, is not made out of heat waves, no books or papers inside, is not a peaceful design, somebody hates it here, is not heat, is not an eminence of heat emission, is made out of sound, a pulsar, is made out of a radiology equipment, is a heart damage, distress, is a congregated bundle, is set on a path that is sturdy in design. The path is sturdy and fixed, set. Peaceful design, it burns but like a cold, not hot, laser. It is intelligent in design. It has a hyperbolic trajectory. I know the hyperbolic is how you can draw or describe. It's like in calculus when you describe a function or a shape, kind of like you have sinusoidal waves. Hyperbolic is a specific shape which we do come across in physics and calculus math. I don't know what it looks like, but it's interesting that Arvi tells me that the trajectory, which means the path, the shape of the path that this blue emission travels in. It simply means where is it going and in what way, the trajectory, the path, the direction it goes. So the shape of how it moves is hyperbolic. Hyperbolic again is another shape. So this is describing in very mathematical, technological terms how it moves, in what way, in what direction, what shape it moves in. The device has a wavy patterned reflective silvery surface somewhere on the exterior. The device has ears to listen with. Signal emission. The structure is exiting the Earth's atmosphere. There are keys to lock it up. A key used on the device itself to lock up the device. A non-friendly, unbenign design, but not hostile, just not made to be friendly. This structure can send down a steady beam, which is like a thick, not like individual pulses, but a steady, thick yellow beam. And this beam can be moved to aim it to a specific point. So the structure could potentially be standing still, and it could aim this yellow beam to choose where it points to. And here are some drawings that I have made so far on areas that I have seen on the structure. So this ugly round flat thing turns out is part of is the end of a can-like cylindrical structure. And that is connected to the other parts. All of these parts are suspected, of course, of being part of one composite structure. We're just seeing the bits and pieces so far, and we're starting to get what piece connects to what. So we have again two drawings of this white grid structure, which has holes through these bars. The squares are holes, and then we have these white bars of a grid. And this grid structure is radiating something. Well, I'm doing EE probes, and I was at the grid, and I saw the box, and there was a radiation at the box, and I could feel this radiation coming at me, and I could feel this radiation ripping apart my thyroid gland. Just not melting it, but ripping it. It was horrible. No, this radiation is bad. It starts to kill my liver. Made another drawing. So we see that we have this big concave structure, and then the other structures are attached to it, but in front of it. And there's this awful smell of, like, I would describe it as a smell of technology and oil of some kind. It smells kind of old and stale. This flat, round structure has a pressure gauge and a filmometer, and the overall composite structure contains this very large flat rectangle as drawn, and it is very reflective. It kind of had a feel of solar panel, but we're not there yet to say if it is. It's not RV data, but it reminded me of it. You see that there is this big arching shape in this region, as I frequently draw. And then this bundle, it consists of all the other smaller parts, such as the box, the grid I think is there, and the flat round structure. They are all contained here in a smaller sized bundle. RV said Chinese design, which means it could be, or it could also be something similar. I think I saw a person who kind of looked Chinese, had black hair, most probably Asian at least, but you know, it could also be an Asian looking person who is in another country. So we don't have that kind of level of confidence or detail yet, but it's just a data point. And Ari said a cassette, and I saw what reminds me of 1980s music cassettes or VHS cassettes, which can contain film and sound. It's like this rectangular block, and it has two round shapes, and it would usually contain like a tape which goes from one side to the other. At least RV calls it cassette, and at least that it really looks like a cassette. There are no windows on this device, so if we were to go inside it, we could not see out. The device has parts that were fastened by using a wrench tool. Up in the sky, above the structure, it is very cold. Massive thunderbolts of electrical current go through the device. There is a ladder or stairs for easy access, for people to go quickly up or down. This seemed to be on the exterior, but I'm not yet entirely sure where it is. It has what really looks like a solar panel on top. The solar panel is this flat rectangular disc mounted on the top, and notice that it is black and that it has dark blue lines forming a grid pattern across it. I see a place which RV calls an industrial site complex. It looks like a massive, vast industrial site where from the outdoors you see lots and lots of pipes, as well as cylindrical vertical standing with a blunt top cisterns that are connected to those pipes. On the site there is also a truck car vehicle parked. It is an exceptionally large industrial site. So let's just draw it together. We have these upright standing with a blunt top. Cisterns, and maybe that they're raised from the ground a bit, no idea. Several different sizes, I think. These cisterns are not so huge. They're not massive. They're kind of smallish. We have all these pipes going across the ground and connecting to these cisterns. everywhere. Just this way, and this drawing, of course, is not exact, but you see all these pipes and cisterns, and there's some kind of a truck or something parked here, a motor vehicle. It's a very beautiful visual I had of this. And these cisterns, as well as the pipes, have a beautiful bluish color. Which is quite nice. There were a lot more pipes and cisterns than what I've drawn here. It's real nice. Well, I have a weakness for this kind of site for remote viewing. I think it's just beautiful. Industrial things, pipes, technology. It's my favorite thing in remote viewing. I really enjoy this kind of a location for remote viewing. And some kind of ground, just to show that this is on the ground. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Really nice, gorgeous industry. Now this is not necessarily at our structure because I'm looking from high up in the sky and I see this somewhere nearby to our main target. So it's there. It's either part of the target, it's either relevant, or that it's just a description of what kind of a wider area we're in, but this I saw. Oh my god. This is amazing. I saw, let me try to draw it. I just don't know if I can. It was so detailed. I watch videos by this guy who does urban exploring, and this looked like, I remember a video he made where he did urban exploring, I think in somewhere in Europe, where he goes to these abandoned European factories like from the 1980s and things, where people have just left all the machinery and furniture and items, you know. This really reminded me of this urban explorer that I've watched videos where he goes to these 1900s abandoned factory rooms. So I don't think I will be able to draw it, but no, I can't. I won't be able to draw it. I just have to describe it. It's too detailed. I just can't fit all the individual items and things and colors. But I saw it, but I just couldn't draw it. So it was indoors. I had the feeling that it's upstairs. And this room definitely had windows along one wall, the wall that we see. And I think counters, table surface spaces along the wall that has the windows. And it had a feeling and a look like 1980s, maybe even 1960s, but I would say like 1980s, thereabouts, just the way it looked and felt. And this sense of, it's definitely from the industrial complex, this feeling of factory, machines, industrial, maybe laboratory, chemistry lab somewhere for sure. I could feel it. Manufacture of something technical, papers, offices, desks, filing cabinets. Not the kind of environment where women would work at that time, kind of like men go to work there feeling. And it's definitely I feel it's part of this industrial complex, and I saw from the inside in this large room, had lots of machinery and things, and it was a room where maybe even 10 people at the same time could be working on something. There was nothing high tech. It felt earlier 1900s. It wasn't modern or electronics, technological, advanced, kind of basic, a bit outdated. And it was really cool to see it suddenly. And I saw it when I was looking in the same direction as I was looking when I saw the outside of this industrial complex. So it's definitely in the same area. It was so beautiful to see it and so cool. Wow, I just had the most incredible impression of a material which was like rubber, and it was so beautiful. It was so it was so strong and clear, and just a pierce impression. This, I could hear a sound from the material, and I could feel the gumminess, and RV says it's rubber, and I can see it, and it's just, things are so beautiful. These are so beautiful when you remote view them, and it's like, it's this rubber material. Oh, I'm gonna start crying. Okay, I'm crying because I saw rubber material. Sorry. It was just so beautiful. Couldn't. I'll try to explain it so you can enjoy it too. Like I'm not there. There's no person there to see it, right? I'm a human, but I'm not there where that rubber is. This is really emotional. I'm not there. So this material, this rubber, it exists there all alone. There's nobody there to see it. And it has an essence. It has an existence. It has itself. It's feeling of itself. And for me to hear its voice and its character, and I'm not cutting this out of the video. There are times when you remote view a thing that isn't biological even, and it's just so beautiful. It's like this little person almost, like this feeling and this essence, and it's there, and I hear I hear the sound of the rubber, kind of this rubber boots, scratchy, squeaky sound, and it's just so beautiful because it's not me. I'm not there. It wasn't me. It wasn't my thought. It has nothing to do with me. It is its own essence, it existing as itself, entirely without human, separate from me. And it's this little thing, and it has this squeaky sound and this rubber texture feeling, this elasticity. It's really cool. I'm still looking in the same direction, and I saw one larger cistern, unless that we were closer to it this time. It's very big. I'm going to draw a human, and it does stand on stilts, like these little legs of some kind above the ground. I will draw a human just to show you size reference. I think something like this. I didn't really see a human, so I have to write size reference. because I didn't see it. I just want to show you. This cistern is very big. And they are doing something on the yard, which is they're weighing. So there's this thing you can put things and weigh them. How much does it weigh? It feels like they are weighing some material so that they know how much there is, kind of like a delivery. They receive a delivery of materials for the industrial complex, so they want to weigh it to see these huge, like tons. They want to weigh how much do we have here in this parcel, and then it's like on a crane, and then they can receive these massive amounts of materials. Now, is this relevant? How relevant is this to the actual central target? We're not entirely sure, because here I'm still looking in the surrounding area to see where are we, like what kind of a place do we have. This could just be something I found further in the distance, but it's also very likely to be relevant to the central target. Let's just draw, let's write here, weighing. We are in a massive industrial site. There are trucks coming here with deliveries. They're delivering materials to the site, and they seem to be picking up the empty containers and then bringing new containers which have materials in them. And then they always take the empty containers away as they go away. So it's like a steady delivery to this site of materials, lots and often. And we have a beautiful welcome center. Now this building is kind of at the forefront, so the industrial complex would be behind it. This is a very large building, and it's beautiful. And then there's some kind of a structure here of some kind, like a smaller building. This is like, I feel like the roads would lead to here. Like if you come in by car and you want to visit for any reason, you would come to this welcome center, which is a black building. I have to draw it a bit lighter than black so that we can see details on it. And this welcome center feels very modern. It looks very modern and expensive and high-tech. I'm not sure if it has green grass. We do have to draw the ground so that we know they're not floating in the air. I'm just going to use a generic beige kind of color. Could be grass, I'm not entirely sure. But since we don't know, it's a bit more safe to do that. Now this road is, I'm not sure that I saw this road, but I feel like if you drive here on the road, you would come to the welcome center. Now, there's some big money. I mean, I'm not RV data, but just from what it looks like, I can tell you that this is a big investment. So this welcome center has like the entrance here, lots and lots of windows and floors. So this is where you would go, like welcome center, like to visit. You wouldn't just barge into the industrial complex itself, which is behind this. You would go to the welcome center. I hope I can go inside the welcome center. It's be nice to see what the lobby looks like and such. Just windows, floors. It just looks very polished, modern, expensive, very nice. Something a bit decorative here. Could be like a mini park area, some flower beds, something similar to that is right there, some decorative element. And this smaller one is just a side building. Very nice, huh? This is kind of a... I'm still looking in the same direction. I'm not looking straight at the central target structure. I'm investigating the region at this time. So, but usually still this could be relevant. At least we have what the area has, this area. So I'm still including it, of course. I'm still looking in the same direction, but I'm not as high up. I'm still up in the sky above the central target structure, and I'm all of this industrial complex I've seen when I look straight north. And I'm still looking north, but this time I'm not as high up. I'm a bit lower down, and I see a wall. And the wall looks like this. And it's a dark brown. This is a building. I didn't quite see the ceiling. It's what shape? And this is bricks. Bricks. You know, if you know my remote view, you know I love my bricks. It has a courtyard. For this building, I don't know if it's on the same industrial complex. I'm just seeing the area where we are. This building has a lot of sick people that come in for treatment. This is many floors. So you might think, is it a hospital? No idea. But sick people treatment. It doesn't really feel like hospital in a traditional sense. This ties in interestingly to all the disease I feel from our device, but we'll keep going. I will draw some windows, even though I didn't specifically see them, but we need to understand that it's at least 3 floors high, just to know what we're looking at. I'll just draw some kind of roof, just so that we don't get confused. But I haven't seen the windows and I haven't seen the roof, but we kind of need it to understand this drawing. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to add it, but it just doesn't look like what I saw unless I add the ceiling and the roof and the windows to it. So we'll just do it. There is no modern technology here. It all feels rather old. They have a guard patrolling this place. Too bad he can't see me. Kind of silly for him. Like he's out here on the industrial complex, walking around among these cisterns and pipes on this big industrial courtyard, and he has a uniform. So it's not just like some amateur stuff. He has a guard uniform on. Proper guard. I don't think military uniform, it just looks like bluish, darkish guard uniform. And he has some tools, at least 2 devices on his belt, like maybe a radio or a weapon. It just felt like weapon. I would guess he has a baton which can be opened up to hit someone with. That's the feeling I had from what I saw. That's just the feeling. It didn't feel like a gun to shoot with. Something in this area he has. So he's walking here outside on the grounds, and it's just too bad he can't see me. I can go I can go anywhere I like. It's so sad, like remote viewers can go there. There is this cistern, and connected to it on the side is what I want to call a turbine. It has this concentric rings kind of shape on that side, and it's black. And also we have a coast with a beach very nearby on one side of this area, and it's either to a big lake or ocean. I saw the black rubber material again. I'm not even kidding, it's amazing. This massive complex comes right up to the water's edge. Now look at this. It has like this raised edge, and then there is a dock, which is like this platform, which goes into the water. And there is a big building here. I was on the beach. It has beach, sand, at least at a minimum sand. Is there water as well? There should be, because it registers that way, but I'm fully confident about the sand. Yeah, it's water here. So this part here is like a dock, like you could get to the water. It's a very big, this is still part of the industrial complex. So I was on this beach, I was on the sand. So it's like you wouldn't have people coming to this beach because it's really on this grounds of this industrial site. So I think it means that, you know, it's not like where people would come swimming or something, because it's just occupied in a sense. You know? The smell of rubber. You know, I love this material from this Target. So I'm very happy. I see a truck driving on a road, and it's driving up in the mountains. We see a big pointy mountain in the background nearby, and this is up on high altitude, this road. And right up against the road is a forest of spruce or pine trees. So it's really in the wilderness. And being a remote viewer, I decide to go inside the truck to take a look and inspect what kind of cargo is being delivered. And the first thing I find are these tiles, which RV says are silica plates, and they're being used for some kind of technology assembly. And another item which I find in this delivery truck is called hydraulic fuel. And we can draw this landscape that I saw. So hydraulic fuel and silica plates. This truck is kind of, it's not a typical truck like what you see on the roads that goes to like supermarkets with groceries. It looked a bit outdated, and it's a kind of big on this front, kind of bulky in some weird way. And it just has this cargo space at the back. Really suck at drawing cars, but it's not a huge truck. It's not one of those big ones. It's kind of medium sized, but it has this cargo space up there. And weird at the front of this truck, it's kind of looks like an old-fashioned earlier 1900s, more like a utility truck, a little bit military feel or something. It's just not a typical truck. And it has this road, and in the background we have a mountain. Right there, which is pointy and jagged. And there we have all kinds of trees. The mountain is a nice brown-red color. You really are not off by putting some red on it. Maybe a bit of white on the top. It's real pretty. Let's put some white on the top there. And some sky, because we have the sky here. It really feels like a wilderness. It's really like a out in the wild. Like, all of this that I draw is things that I've seen. I wouldn't just make up aspects or fill things in. Not sure about the color of the road, but we can use a default gray. And this truck is a bit of a brown. Really, the front of this truck is not typical somehow. There we have it. Beautiful postcard image of the target area. The amount of detail on this target. Look what we have. So we have an inside space, some kind of a room, right? And we just have a wall and a floor. So there's some kind of a thing here, and a flask, some kind of a bottle, is fitted in here by a man. So now we have a man. So he is here. What he was doing, he had this bottle in his hand. This is inside of a room, right? It's kind of dark there. It's kind of blackish, reddish coloration inside of a room. And he had this bottle in his hand. And what he did was he was shaking it like this, or like this, the bottle. And then he fits it into this slot, and some kind of machinery or system is able to feed off of the contents of this bottle upward. Quite some detail. Very interesting, I suppose. A man is fastening a bolt. What are they called? Bolt. This kind to a pipe by turning it around. It's like this octagonal, which has a pipe through it. You know, like it's like this. And he turns it around and around so that it goes downward and is fastened. Wow, the amount of detail. We have a cooling device, which looks like a white, tall thing. It could be one of the cisterns, but we're not assuming. Inside is some kind of a coil piping, but it's a pipe, not like a. It's not like a wire. It's a pipe. And inside of this pipe, you hear this gurgling sound and bubbles because it contains a cooling liquid inside this pipe coil. And there is a lot of radiation here at this cooling device. And let's draw this radiation kind of like this. Weird. Sorry if I'm sometimes show up look like a mess. It's when I lie down on the bed to remote view and then I see something, I have to jump here. So our structure looks weird. Here we go. Around it is, let's draw big so we can see all the detail. This kind of a girdle, which is several, I don't even know what to call it. Like, we'll just see as I draw it. These things have gaps. So it's like these metal, I think metal, curved, thin bits, cups with holes. Now, this thing spins around the vertical axis, like it rotates in one direction. And it seems, I'm not sure, it seems to emit maybe some green and red lights. I'm not entirely sure. Weird stuff. We just go with it. Is what it is. Under it, it stands on some kind of two legs, or at least two legs, maybe more. So thin legs. And on top of it, it is kind of cone-shaped. We can clearly see that this looks a lot like the structure we drew in the beginning, and that this cone shape is the important things on the top. Not entirely sure about the coloration, but we do know that these lobes are gray. Bizarre, huh? But we love it when things get weird, don't we? I would give the legs a darker color. And let's just make the gaps a bit darker, because it's gaps. Now I have the pleasure of writing down what I've seen in the text report. So this thing rotates, lights. It's like it emits these lights from inside, green and red. This is so weird. I almost want to cry. Yeah. Also gave it some floor because it's on the ground or floor like this. So inside of a room of some kind or chamber, there are all these pipes, lots of pipes. And in this space there is a yellow-black warning tape. And at the back, kind of behind some of the pipes, there is an electrical cabinet. And something in this room has been locked with a key, and it could be the electrical cabinet that is locked with key. Then I saw a smallish device, quite possibly our device, which slowly fell down from the sky, not really high up, but from the sky, fell down and landed softly on the ground with a parachute above it. And then appeared a man with like a bright yellow jacket, kind of to retrieve this item from the ground. And the jacket, the yellow jacket, is kind of a, I guess it reminds me of like emergency workers, or, you know, kind of a jacket so you see them, like safety workers. So you see that, okay, there's someone, he has the jacket, it's easy to see him, like a visible yellow jacket. The orange sphere that I find as an initial element frequently, which simply means orange, it means it's an object. On the side of the structure, which when probed turns out to have a reflective glass-like appearance, registers as being or having gravitronics. So here it is somewhere here on the structure, here on the side. This one, on the far right side, it was orange initially, and then I looked at it closer and it was reflective. I also drew this blue ring around it. It's under the 3 green dots on the stairs formation on the very right side next to the pipe. And this device has a cooling liquid tanks inside. I had spruce tree tops stuck into this device on 2 different locations. I initially drew them in, but then I removed them from the drawing so that we can see the structure better. At the outer end tip of the blue flame, you can see the blue flame that I drew on the left side. At the outer end tip of this blue flame, there is oxygen gas consumption. This device is resting against sand beneath it. The extension to the left of the structure, which is gray colored here, a little bit up and the left, is stabilizer. And I also saw this beautiful scenery of yellow mountains and yellow sand, really gorgeous. Some kind of a desert landscape with mountains and a blue-white sky. And here we see the structure resting on the ground in an area which is densely with what look like spruce trees or pine trees, and this reddish colored mountain again and the blue sky. So this is drawing 5. Drawing 6. There are no chairs inside the device to sit on. This is entirely unmanned. Someone with black rubber boots. No one is having fun here. It landed on sand on the beach. The moon is seen very clearly from up above, but from close. A man says, "I fucking hate this place." The man seems to have dark eyebrows. By all means, he would be a human. Here we see our device resting on the sand, and we have these things at one end which I guess remind of thrusters, but I'm not entirely sure what they are, and this dorsal fin type of structure, and a cylindrical type of shape for this drawing. Here we have an initial element, the orange, and I just patted around and found some other structural components as well as green plants beneath it, which could tie into the spruce trees again. Here we have portions of the structure. You see that the blue dorsal fin shape as well as the structure on the left side, they're both very reflective. On the top, the gray structure, it registered as a lamp, and we see again the thruster-like structures on the bottom, and this curved thing shows up always as part of the structure. Here I seem to have drawn it 2 times, once on the left, once on the right, and the mesh, the white mesh, shows up frequently, and all of those squares, it's a hole through it, so it's really just the bars with empty in between, and it's white. And I have seen throughout this session several times a very clear, incredible image of what looks like our moon. It's, how do I describe it? It's definitely very close by. I'm above the ground, and I can see the entire spherical outline. So I'm not just looking at a portion of craters and land. I can see the whole thing, and I can see the round perimeter. And there's this yellowish, pale yellow colored hue glow to it. And I see all these craters down there, especially the dark crater I drew on the lower left, the big one, the one which is almost a full circle. That's a bigger one, and that's the one that always interested me for some reason. All these craters, and just from what I was looking at and seeing, I never saw any other structures or other things there. Drawing 7, solar panel canister. The canister looks like a flame extinguisher, cylindrical brown-red colored container. It reminds me of the kind of containers that hold a gas or a liquid under a high pressure. It seemed to be metallic, and it seemed to have thick walls. Massive big white clouds. The clouds seemed to be growing and evolving quickly in a strange way, and I was really high up there in the clouds. The site with the big white canister cisterns has a perfect row of parked trucks of the same kind as seen before, all facing in the same direction at this site. Nothing here has broken on the device. This whole thing is intact. Then I see something which is a bit different. A large tooth in a filing cabinet. They want to know whose tooth it was. And the tooth that I saw had been cut in half across the center so that you could see a cross section. You could see the root canals and everything. And here we see that all of the things seem to be resting on sand. We have solar panel, canister, a lamp, the round flat thing which is part of the structure, someone wearing gray rubber boots, and we see three structures poking up from the ground. It seems to be part of a larger structure which is mostly buried under the sand. Drawing 8. I saw a clear image of as if I were approaching the surface of the moon from some distance above the moon. Lots of craters down there, absolutely beautiful. I wanted to approach so that I could choose to go down to the surface, and there I met the man on the moon that I have drawn here on drawing 8. He has the long, slender nose. He is not a human. I saw him yesterday also during the session, but here I make a note of him for the first time. He spoke with me yesterday also. He said here this time something that implied that he did not want me to see them, so I apologized and started to leave. "Why are you not afraid of me?" the moon man says to me. "Are you angry at me?" I say to him. "No, not that. I don't want you to look at our affairs. Are you not afraid now?" he says. "I am not afraid. However, I am concerned, since I do not want to harm you or to cause you any distress. May I look at the moon, though? I am so excited to be on the moon. I just want to see all the craters." I say to him. I almost yell the last sentence about the craters, because I really am that excited. "We don't want to fight with you. We just really want you to leave. Signing off," he says. Signing off meant that he was signing off from our contact. "I have to respect that. You have given me no reason to disrespect your wishes," I say to him. "You were never on the lunar surface," he says. "Was I not? But I saw in my mind another planet or moon that had lots of craters on it," I say. "We mean this well," he says, and he means that he has good intentions. "Where was it then? Another planet?" I ask. "We wish you well," he says. "Thank you. I wish you well also. I mean you no harm," I say. "I am the ambassador of this place, so I came here to tell you this," he says. "You have been so kind to me. I am grateful to you. It was wonderful to meet you. I wanted to see the craters. May I see the craters?" I ask. "Which ones?" he says. "The big one," I say. "There are many large-sized ones. Which one do you wish to see? Only the good ones, then?" he says. "Well, can you tell me which crater I may look at?" I ask. "We have equipment here," he says. "Should I leave the moon? Is this the Earth's moon?" I ask. "I am the lunar ambassador. Pleased to meet you. We are not arresting you or anything," he says. "Nice to meet you, lunar ambassador," I say. "Do you want to swim here?" "Yes, we do have oceans," he says. "You have oceans on the moon?" I say. "Yes, we do," he says. "So it's not the Earth's moon?" I say. "We have glassware too. We know that you have been looking at it," he says. "It has not broken, do not worry." He fusses at some other alien who may have wondered if I would have broken the glassware. So he assures the other alien that I have not broken the glassware, but he spoke in a fussy, angry way to the other alien. To me he speaks calm and noble. And later, "Please do not come here any more," the lunar ambassador says to me calmly and kindly. "How come you can see me? Are you part of the target?" I say. So here I have drawn the man on the moon, the lunar ambassador. I have seen him many times in this session. He shows up. Of course, I ask myself, is he part of the target or is he just visiting? But I'm fully convinced he's a real being. He has notably this very, very long and very narrow nose. The device is also seen up amidst the clouds in daylight and blue sky with white clouds. And then I start probing some questions. So I ask questions and then I probe the question text. Purpose of the device, radiology. Purpose of radiology, affecting humans. Affecting humans how? Lifting, uplifting. Uplifting humans why? Then it just talks about how the device moves instead. What is this target? Nowhere to go other than here. Target is what? I see the device with the pointy top, which is our device. It has a pointy top. Lots of wires and chains on it, like bicycle chains, not like linked chains. Hydraulic fuel is needed much. Hydraulic fuel for what? Hot processes. Purpose of device, star design, star madness, star mayhem. Star mayhem, mainly I'm looking what is that. Not knowing what they do, but trying to do it anyway. No set, original purpose, just finding out what happens. So that's the star mayhem. With this device, they don't know what they're doing with it. They're just going out there and seeing what happens. So it's a kind of a mayhem. I see lots of spruce trees. Spruce trees why? Not near the water. Lamps signal malfunction. Spruce trees where? Going upward from them, emission of a signal. Inside the device I find cooling liquid. The top pointy cone of the device sends out a warning signal. No life forms inside the top cone of the device. Lots of cooling. It is kept cold, the device's signal emissions. A rocket fuel formed out of pellets. The pellets are spherical and light yellow in color, like little spheres. Sends out a sound. Sends out sound. Sickness, a metastasis maker. Metastases are changes to cells that may form cancer in some cases. Sickness to cells. Sickness sound why? A sonar eminence. A sonar powerful. Sonar to reach for the stars. Emanation of power. Sickness sonar sound intentional or not intentional. Goes into the mouth and causes sickness. Solar panels on either side from the device. It seemed these can be mechanically turned into their outward position. I see that we are out in the sea and there are big waves of the ocean. The powder round pellets fuel inside the craft. This pellets fuel is kept under cold temperature frozen, with visible frost covering it.